All right, my clock says 6 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. First question is, how do you train your staff? I want you to think about that right now, whether you are just now getting ready to open or you've been open for 2, 3 years. Do you hire experienced people only? Do you assume that they're just going to learn just like you did? Do you just give a 2 minute walkthrough of the truck or trailer and say, hey, we're going to open in 10 minutes, get ready? I can tell you right now, all those things will not work. And if that does sound familiar, we're going to work on making it not familiar. That's not the standard you want to have your business live up to. The attention that you give a new employee will be the exact same amount of attention or less, get that, or less than they will pay towards the job and to your guests. So if you don't care enough to explain to them all the details about the job, they're not going to care enough to do it right because they don't have enough information to do it right. And they're certainly not going to treat your guests the way that the guest deserves to be treated because you haven't treated a brand new employee right. The very second you start an interview, you're training your prospective employee. And it doesn't matter whether you hire them or not. Whenever I go to hire someone, I make sure I go through all the applications, weed it down to about 5 per position I have available. And that's not always a luxury that you'll have, but when you do have that opportunity, narrow it down to 4 or 5 people. You want to be able to compare who's going to be the best one of the group that I talk to for the job that I have available. But when you start that interview, you want to let them take the opportunity to look you in the eye, to shake your hand, to do some sort of greeting, because that's going to tell you what kind of person they're going to be when your guest walks up to them. Because they don't know the guest. Are they going to look them in the eye and smile and say, hi, welcome to my food truck. Would you like to try? And whatever your specialty is for the day. Or are they going to look down at the ground and going to say, hey, can I take your order? Those are the kind of things that you establish in your interview, how your business is going to operate. So you need to be on your, I don't want to say best behavior, but you need to be in character as the boss. You need to be in character as the person that's going to help them to become the best employee they can be. And that starts with the interview. Imitation is not always flattery. You guys want the pristine chef or the smiling cashier that's going to be on point every second that they're working for you. But if you treat your staff like this pictured individual there as a grumpy Gus, that's going to give you an employee like this. One that's going to be grumpy and doesn't want to take care of anybody. How you treat your staff and how you act off stage defines how they're going to act towards your guest. So if there's no customers around, and that's when you're off stage, there's no customers around and you guys are shooting the breeze and cussing and talking and acting like you're at the playground when you're 12 years old and trying to act big and bragging and cussing and just doing everything as unprofessionally as you possibly can, and then you turn that off when a guest shows up, I can guarantee you there's going to be cussing and stuff throughout your day in front of your guests. You set the example. You're always hustling, you're always working, you're always guest focused, you're always taking care of your business, and you gently correct them when they do not meet that standard. So you always are acting how you want them to act. So how do you create a superstar employee? First thing is a job description. They've got to know the details. And the details need to be written so that every person you train hears the same story, does it the exact same way. They need to have their primary position. In the picture here, you see a cashier. So they need to know exactly how they're going to address a customer, every process into ringing up the order, suggest the selling, how to round up an order, how to suggest something they haven't ordered, how to call out the food to the kitchen staff. Whatever your procedures are, they need to know them in detail, and they need to be explained to them in detail. We'll get to training in a few minutes, but your job description is the beginning of your training. They also need to have a secondary task list. You can see the primary is, in this case, this guy's a cashier. So he's going to do things that are associated with a cashier. However, at the point that there is no guest standing in front of him, he needs to know, what am I supposed to do now? And that's the secondary positions or secondary task. A secondary task would be to go help the rest of the team. So he can go help the expediter. He can go drop fries. He can go dress sandwiches, after he washes his hands. He can do whatever he has been instructed to do as a part of a secondary task for his cashier position. And that task gets interrupted if a new guest steps up to the window. So the primary task is take care of the job in front of you. The secondary task is to go help. If you've helped everybody, as far as the rest of the team, and there's no more food to produce, there's no more guests to take care of, then what you're going to do is real simple. You got to restock. So you're going to help. When there's no one else to help, you're going to restock. Restock gets you ready for the next rush. After you've restocked, the next thing is you got to clean up. You're going to clean the counter, sweep the floors, police the parking lot, take out trash. You're going to do the kind of things to get ready for the next little mini rush, or the next really big rush. So the secondary tasks are things to get you ready for the next rush. And then at the point that you've done all the secondary tasks, there's still no guests to take care of. That's telling you as the owner, I need to get on my social media and get some people here and do some marketing. That's not the time to go plop down in a lawn chair and smoke a cigar out by the back door. Because if you have an opportunity to bring people to your business while you're still open, then you better seize it. Otherwise, you will not make that daily sales goal that you should have. If you're planning on being open 4 hours a day, then you better plan on working 4 hours a day. Take your smoke breaks, eat your lunch, do all that stuff when you've closed. And yeah, I'm a really hard person to work for. Okay, do y'all remember this from the speed of service presentation? That's what SOS stands for, speed of service. This is a diagram of an old Wendy's from the 80s, but if you'll notice, that could easily be a food truck. Take out a couple of the fryers, or take out the potato station, throw in a triple sink, and you've got enough room there for a full-fledged food truck. That's an 18-foot design right there. So each person in this diagram knows exactly what to do, and they also know how to help the person that's next to them. All those arrows tell them what they should be doing and what person they should be helping if one of the other people is out of position. So we're going to talk about that in great detail. But this is something we talked about in the speed of service presentation. You can go back and review that and get some of the details that we talked about on training, or we will talk about on training here in a minute. So how do you create your star employee? You got to determine the policies. And then talking about policies such as a call off or being tardy to work, cash policy, cash over and short. Do they get free meals? Do they get discounts? What happens if they're rude? They have insubordination. How do they handle credit cards? When do they need to get a signature? What about their personal cell phone, taking a smoke break, having a meal break? Do they need a food handler? All of those things need to be defined and written. And what a policy is a predetermined outcome. So in call off, if you say that my call off policy is you will call off within no sooner, or no later rather, than 3 hours before your shift, and if you do that, then you're fine. But if you call off less than 3 hours, there's going to be some penalty, some consequence for that action. And the policy spells that out. It could be a slap on the wrist where you get a write-up. It could be something pretty serious like, I'll take you off the schedule for the rest of the week and find someone else to do your job. Wherever you want to be, but that policy needs to be explained ahead of time so that they understand what could happen when they do some of this stuff. Let's talk about cash policy. That's a big one that I've seen people banter all about. Cash policy, let's say it's $2. Most places, fast food restaurants at least, have a plus or minus $2. At $2 and a penny, you're in trouble. And that trouble is the exact same up to a certain point. Clearly, if they're ripping you off for $200 or $300, you may jump from right up to, we're going to go ahead and terminate you, because clearly you can't count. But if they're, $2.25, they need to slap on the wrist, say, hey, you need to be paying more attention to the cash register and counting the money. Mistakes happen. Believe me, I know. And I've been in that situation where I've counted my own drawer, been the only person in my own drawer, and been $20 short. And still to this day, don't know how I did that, but I did it. Obviously, I either had 220 stick together when I broke a 50 or something. So you've got to pay attention to the details. Write them all down with predetermined outcomes. If your policy on a cell phone is no cell phones and they pull one out, what happens when they pull one out? And please don't accept the excuse, well, I got kids in school and the teacher might need to call me because, this kid's sick. Well, that's really good. We have a business phone. Your job should have the business phone and call. And then I'll direct the phone to you. Cell phone is not an excuse for them to whip it out just because the cell phone rings, because how are they going to know whether it's the school or the baby daddy? And how are they going to know who's calling? They have to pick it up and look at it. And that breaks their position as doing customer-focused things, guest-focused things. So again, write your policies. Have the outcomes. What will happen if you get a smoke break when the shift is ended and we're closed. You get to eat food either before we start service or after we end service. So have those policies in place. So here's the big question everybody wants to know. Where do you find your stars? You're going to look at church, school, friends and family, all for referrals. People at church. You may have children in school, teachers, PTA meetings. You have friends, you have family. Not that you're going to offer them jobs, but you're going to ask them, do you know somebody that may need a job? You can talk to past coworkers if you are doing food trucks full time. Talk to people you used to work with. If you're still working someplace, talk to those folks. Again, looking for referrals. Do you know somebody that's looking for a job? Current employees. If you have one really good employee, ask them, hey, do you know anybody that needs a job that's going to be as good as you? Most of the time, they will only refer people they believe will work. They don't want to add to their own workload by referring somebody that's lazy. It does happen, but not as often as you would think. You can ask for guests as a referral. If there's a guest that comes in very frequently, ask them, hey, I've been running shorthanded. Do you happen to know anybody that would be looking for a job? You're going to prospect competitors. And what that means is when you go into a restaurant or another food truck, you always should be checking them out. If you're not, then you're missing the boat there a little bit too. But you want to have some business cards on you. And if you get waited on the way you want to be waited on, the way you expect to be waited on, whether it's a restaurant, a gas station, or a competitor's food truck, if they wait on you in a manner that impresses you, you pull out your business card and say, hey, I'm always looking for great people just like you. If you know somebody, would you give them a call and ask them to give me a call? Here's my business card. Most of the time when you do that, the person you handed it to is going to call you because there's going to be something that they don't like about their current job, and the way that you presented yourself in a professional manner and complimented them, looking for people just like you, they're going to give you a call. And they may not come to work immediately, but they've got in the back of their mind, this guy liked me, he wants me, and I want to go work for somebody that actually will appreciate my abilities. So always be prospecting. You can go to J.C. Penney's and the cashier that's ringing up your new work clothes, if they're friendly and outgoing, say, hey, somebody just like you is somebody I need in my business. Here's my card. If you know somebody that needs a job, have them give me a call. Hospitality programs in high school and in college work boards, work programs for disabled folks. It gets a little dicey there because there's certain jobs that in the confines of a food truck, some disabilities just simply will not work. But there are a number of folks on these different programs that would be a good fit in a food truck. Disadvantaged youth programs, boys and girls clubs, big sister, big brother clubs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any of those civic organizations. You could even go to, the Lions Club or some of the other civic clubs, Shriners, any place where there's a group of people that would be willing to listen to you say, hey, I need some help. Do you guys happen to know anybody? There's always somebody looking for some part-time work. So now let's talk about the one thing that everybody is going to disagree, and that's going to be the hospitality programs and high schoolers. Teenagers get a bad rap no matter what generation it is. When I started as a teenager, we got bad raps, and that was in the 70s. Got a bad rap, smoking pot and all that kind of nonsense. Teenagers in the 80s, oh, they're on crack cocaine. Teenagers in the 90s, there's always some reason to say, oh, teenagers are horrible. They're not. They're a product of their environment and people that are willing to teach them and help them. My very first job in 1977, working in a food restaurant, the only kind of restaurant there is, ones that sell food. I was hired to make sandwiches. We sold roast beef sandwiches. We put it on a slicer and we sliced it. Then when a certain amount of meat came out, we would take and put it on a scale and weigh it, transfer it to a little steamer, give it a shot of steam to increase the heat and to release some of the flavor molecules in the meat, which I didn't know at the time, but now I do. And then toast a bun, put it on the bun, wrap it up, send it out. We had that sandwich, which was a plain sandwich, and we had one that was a little bit bigger, a little bit more meat, and had mayonnaise tomato on it. If they wanted cheese, we had a Swiss cheese, and again, you had to steam it a little bit longer to melt the cheese, but that was really the extent of the job. Slice meat, steam meat, or slice meat, weigh meat, steam meat, wrap it. Not too hard. Well, me being a teenager, first time teenager, I thought I was a genius. I thought I was the best employee they ever had. Until one Friday night on a coupon drop rolled around, and the manager came up to me and sent me to the parking lot to pick up the parking lot. Now, mind you, back then we had 3 registers across the front. Each register had 2 cashiers assigned to it because we had an A and B drawer, so they each had their own drawer. So that was a total of 6 people up front taking orders, and they all had lines. Plus we had the drive-thru going. So there's people everywhere. Drive-thrus wrapped out to the street, and we were busy. And they sent me out in the middle of all this business to do the most menial job there was, and that's to go pick the parking lot up. When I came back in, I asked if I could get back on the meat slicer and do my job, and they said, no, why don't you go ahead and do fries? Which in that particular restaurant, doing fries was the lowest of the low jobs. That's where you put the new person. And I'd been around several weeks at that point, so I was no longer new, and there were other people that were newer than me that weren't doing fries. So my ego was totally crushed. And I learned that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. And I watched the girl that they put to replace me, and she was significantly faster than me. Not by a little, but by a lot. So don't ever discount teenagers. If you hire them and train them right, they will stick with you all through high school. And if your college is local, all through college. So you turn a teenager that you're downing right now into a 5, 6, 7-year employee just because you took the time to train them and train them right. And we'll get to how you train them right in a minute. Now, if you notice this Batman and Robin sign, he's pointing at the help wanted. You might as well take help wanted and scribble on it, I'm short-handed. Please forgive me for the service you're about to receive. Because that's what a help wanted sign means when you drive by McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King. Those store managers will get in trouble for having help wanted up on their sign. That's not what that sign's for. The sign is to drive sales into the restaurant, and by putting up help wanted, you don't have people coming in looking for food. You have people coming in looking for a job, maybe. And you're also telling the people that are coming in wanting to be fed that they're a little bit short-handed, so it's going to suck. So don't ever put up a help wanted sign in that manner. And Batman's exactly right. Somebody in that store is in trouble. Hold interviews. Just because a close friend referred somebody to you does not mean they're a good fit for your business. So you're going to hold interviews. What you're going to do is prepare for that interview by reading their application, reading the resume, and you're going to write questions that follow this format. STAR, S-T-A-R. S stands for situation. You're going to ask questions that require them to describe a situation where characteristics you deem important would be used. So things like speed, accuracy, friendliness, patience, urgency, awareness, any of those things. What you're also looking for when they start to answer your question about the situation is what kind of tasks that they hopefully were trained and what kind of procedures did they follow to meet the situation and then give you the speed, the accuracy, the friendliness, the patience, the urgency, the awareness. And continue to ask them questions to get into what kind of actions did they actually do. Because just because they're trained, which is a task, doesn't mean they actually followed it. So what kind of actions did you do? The more that you interview people that are food related, the more you understand all food is very, very similar, at least on the corporate side and the chain side. When you get into individual restaurants, then it's a whole nother world. Then you're going to find out the result from the situation, how their training and how their actions gave the result that would have been what the business or their employer was looking for. If you're talking to a teenager, it's a first-time job, you're going to put these questions in the form of school-related events. Are you in clubs? Are you the president of a club in school? If they're not in clubs, then you're going to frame those questions in, tell me about your classes, your hardest class. Tell me about a time you had to study for a test that you didn't feel you were prepared for. Those kind of things. There are questions you can ask students that will tell you a lot about their personality, but you got to think about those questions. So you got to prepare for the interview. You can't just roll out and go, hey, how you doing? And then put a mirror in front of their nose and see if they fog it. If they fog it, you hire them. That's not how you get good employees. And again, you're going to continue to ask questions to draw out of them the answers that you're looking for. And if they're not able to give the answers, just thank them for thank them for coming in to see you for the interview, and that the interview is now over. Because there will be times when there are people that clearly do not want to work. Don't waste your time with them. Appreciate your time today. I'm going to conclude the interview and just go ahead and tell them, I don't think you'll be a good fit for our business, but I would appreciate you coming and seeing us as a customer from time to time. Because that's what you want to do. You want to let them go on about their way, but keep them as a customer for the future. And yes, I like Captain America. That's why I made that. Once you have hired somebody, it's time to onboard them. And that's a real fancy term that's going on right now. And all that means is you're going to start teaching them. You're going to do some paperwork and you're going to give them some background about your business. This is when the job description we talked about earlier and all those policies that we talked about will be explained. Plus, you're going to fill out all the paperwork, the W-4, the I-9s, and whatever else your state may require. Get copies of their IDs and all that fun stuff. You're going to do all that at once. And then you're going to go straight into training. But take the time to explain the job, explain the policies, and then, of course, do the paperwork. Now you're going to set aside time to train. And effective training has to be one-on-one. The new hire must be an extra person, at least for a couple of shifts. And if you're working solo right now and would be thrilled to have a second person working with you, you still got to train them. You still got to teach them something that will be beneficial to you to help take care of your guests faster and get your food out in a manner that you would be proud of, for number one, and then number two, that your guests will be willing to come back and buy again tomorrow. So you got to set that time aside. And you got to teach them one-on-one, step by step, how to do the job. So you're going to start to train, and notice S-T-A-R-T, you're going to start to train. S stands for show. You're going to show them the task in real time. This is super important. Real time means you do it to the best of your ability. If you're going to show them how to wrap a sandwich, then you're going to show them this is how fast it should go. I had Rack's Restaurants, who hired me as a teenager, taking the time to have somebody show me in real time how to wrap that sandwich and make the sandwich start to finish. I would have known after the second or third day I'm too slow. But no one took the time to say, this is how you do it fast. It should take you 8 seconds. I came to learn that goal a long time in the future, but had someone taught me that goal, had shown me that goal, I would have known that I need a whole bunch more work before I start getting my ego inflated and think I can handle a Friday night when we have a coupon drop. So you show them in real time how to do the task, and you explain in details that matter to your quality, service, cleanliness, and community. And you explain those details as you're doing it. Okay, then you're going to go into tell. So you're now going to go into slow motion. They saw it in real time. You're going to go into slow motion and point out the key points that make sense for that particular task. Roast beef sandwich again. I came to learn that it takes about 7 1/4 slices to make a properly weighed sandwich. So if you're standing there counting it, go back 7 times, you don't have to watch the scale. And you don't have to grab one slice off at a time. You wait till it goes by 7 times. So while it's slicing, you're dropping the bun. So hopefully at the same time the bun falls out of the bun toaster, the meat is sliced. So you have a hot bun and you have meat ready to be steamed and assembled. Those are the kind of things that should have been told to me that were not. I was just shown, you take the meat from here, you put it on this scale, watch the arrow. When the arrow is in the middle, you take it to the steamer. It's got to be at least 3 to 5 seconds. Then you put on the sandwich and you wrap it. That's how I was trained. And the wrapping style was a Christmas package, which if you've never done a Christmas package wrap on a sandwich without crushing it, it takes practice, and it takes a lot of practice. And then the only real thing they told me to avoid was picking the sandwich up in the form of a C to where your thumb crushes the top. They said, we don't like thumbprints on the sandwiches. And I remember that 40 some years later. Of course, I worked there 13 years, and see, I was a teenager and stayed at a place 13 years, worked my way up through the ranks, became a area manager. So yeah, teenagers are a good thing to hire. So you're going to tell them in slow motion all of the points that make the assembly or make the salad or how you do the fries, whatever the task is, you tell them all the points that will make the difference so they can get faster, quicker. People have to know the why behind the how. I was only shown the how. I was never told the why. You got to be faster. Why? Because it helps with customer service. I got to know the why. Everyone needs to know the why. When they know the why, they'll appreciate the how and do it better. Now we're going to move on to the A. A means allow them to try at their own speed. And you're going to stand there and watch them. And you're going to reinforce the steps, rather, to help them get the job faster and quicker and better. So reinforcing those steps and all the key points that you made, and tell them you go a little bit faster. You can do that a little bit better. Hey, if you do this, like I showed you earlier, you can get better. You're going to do it in a calm manner, in a matter-of-fact tone. You're not going to be freaking out about them not adhering to what you explained to them 20 seconds ago, because they're not going to remember. Everything is new to them. Every sound that goes on in that trailer, every smell, every aroma, every sizzle, every crack, everything is new to them. And they have to assimilate all that information at once, plus what you're teaching them. So reinforce the steps necessary to accomplish the task in the time goals you have established. Respond and redirect. What that means is you're going to give them feedback as they're doing the job, and you're going to give them encouragement. You're going to point out things that they may not have remembered properly, and again, do it in a manner that does not hurt their self-esteem. So gently but firmly correct the important steps that were missed. Hey, don't forget, you've got to point those wrappers on the end, tuck them under. Then at the end of the training session, you're going to thank them for their efforts and encourage them. You'll get it tomorrow. It'll be better. You can do it. You always thank your staff because they're putting in effort. Whether you agree if it's as much effort as you would expect or not, They're putting in effort. Thank them for what they're doing. And then next, you're going to let them do it pretty much solo, but under your watchful eye. You're going to make sure they're doing it right. You're going to give them encouragement when they need it. Hey, you need to go a little bit faster. Come on, we talked about an 8-second standard. You're not meeting that. And then when they do meet it, you're going to celebrate. That's awesome. I have had people that I've hired that started out faster than me. Didn't happen often, but it has happened. And every time it's happened, I was shocked because I am quite fast at making a sandwich. No matter what company I work for, and no matter what their build is, I'm very, very fast. But I've hired people that were faster. And that has always shocked me. And when I had those folks, I celebrated it because that meant my job got a whole bunch easier. I want my whole staff to be better than I am. Because guess what? When they're better than you are, you get to take days off. You can open up that second truck without any kind of worry because you've trained the people to be better than you are. You got to become the coach. If $1 million a year athlete needs a coach, certainly your $15 an hour employees need a coach. And what you're going to do is talk them through or into position, through the position, and out of the position. What that means is into position. Hey, today it's going to be just us three. I think it's going to be super busy. I want you to concentrate on and give them 2 or 3 goals. I want you to sell 15 desserts today. I want you to do whatever you need to move your business forward. Give them that goal. You're going to talk to them through the position, through the service. Hey, we need to slow down just a little bit on the cashier. We're going a little bit too fast. We're a little falling behind. And it's okay to say that. You can tell your cashier, slow down. You want to do it in a manner that it doesn't discourage all the people standing in line, but you want to let the cashier know that, hey, you need to pace the line a little bit better. Take a little bit more time with some chit chat with every guest. As long as the line sees you working towards putting food out, they don't mind. What they will mind is once you've collected the money and you take another 35 minutes to give them their food. That's irresponsible. That's sit-down dining pace. And that's not what a food truck is. And you can puff out your chest and say, we cook to order because we do quality food. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can do exactly what your menu is. And I can do it faster than you do it because I know how to anticipate cook. And I can have just as fresh food as you do. Absolutely can be done. If your service times are that slow, you're abusing your guest. You're chasing them away. Because they may say, I love your food and I don't mind the wait. And that may be true in that moment. But tomorrow, when they say, man, I'd love to have that sandwich, and they go, oh crap, I can't because I've got to be somewhere and I know it's going to take 35 minutes to get the food and I don't have 35 minutes to waste. So yeah, they love your food and they didn't mind yesterday, but today, that 35-minute wait chased them away. So don't ever think that people telling you your hour wait don't care. They do care. They're just probably so grateful you gave them something to eat that they're just going to say anything to get the food and get out of your way. So please coach your people through the position. Talk to them, guide them, encourage them all throughout the shift. You're the leader. Pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention to the entire operation, not your tasks. If you are the owner, and no matter where you position yourself, you've got to pay attention to everybody. You got to pay attention to the customer flow. You got to pay attention to the food flow. You have got to pay attention to it all. At the end of the day, you do a mini review. You're going to celebrate every success. You're going to discuss opportunities and how you can get better, how the staff can get better, and you're going to thank them for the hard work. Because remember, they're working hard. They're getting just as sweaty as you are. And in most cases, they're probably working harder than you are because you know what you're doing. And they're still trying to figure it all out. Give them a verbal gold star. Make them want to come back tomorrow because you appreciate their work. Even when you have a crappy day, appreciate what effort they're putting in. There have been many, many times in both restaurants and food trucks where I needed a certain amount of people and they didn't show up. The people that did show up, we had a little miniature meeting before the service started. It's going to be rough today. Here's what I need each of you to do, and here's what I'm going to do to help us get through that. So you don't worry about anything except taking care of what I've asked you to do. Let me stress how slow we're going. Let me stress the customers that are getting upset because we're not meeting the service standard we promise. Let me take the stress. You just keep the smile on your face and keep doing what I've asked you to do. You be the leader. Now let's talk about positioning. Positioning has three important, attributes. Right people, right place, right time. Right people means the person with the best skills in the correct position at the right time. In this diagram, there's 5 people. And we're going to talk about what to do when there's only 4, when there's only 3, when there's only 2. We're going to talk about what to do and how you can get through those kind of days, because that's what you guys need to know right now. So in this particular instance, the right time is the last one I left off on. That means that if you don't get busy until noon, you have no reason to have 5 people standing around 11 o'clock. You bring them in a few minutes before noon. Get them acclimated to the shift, give them your little miniature speech about what they're going to be facing, and then you get in the position and you handle that service. There is no reason why you can't have a prep person come in at 9, somebody else come in at 10, and then 2 people at 11, one person at 12. There's no reason why you can't do that. You got to manage your labor. It's not a set thing of, I'm going to give you 20 hours and they're going to be, 4 5-hour shifts. It is based on what your sales needs are. So the right time for your guest need. The right place is putting their skills and their personalities where they belong for your business needs. Okay, if you got 5 people, you're going to need a cashier, an expediter, that's a person in the person in charge, a sandwich maker, a grill person, and a fry. And this would work for any kind of food, no matter what you sell, whether it's Chinese food, steaks, anything will work in this manner. You're going to have defined jobs for your team, and they need to know what their responsibilities are when you're busy. So in this case, the expediter, that's the person that's going to collect the fries up, put the sandwich on the tray, and make some of the drinks. They're also going to be the one that passes the food out and says, "Thank you, have a great day." Okay, so that's why it's the person in charge. Sounds like that person is the one that's kind of controlling everything. They can tell the cashier to slow down because they're also able to watch the 2 people on the grill and sandwiches and know if they're falling too far behind. They can watch the fry guide, make sure there's enough fries down, and let them know what kind of people are out in the dining room or out in the line facing the window there of the truck. The idea is that the person in charge is controlling the whole food truck. And that particular position is not very easily missed if everybody's trained. If a customer comes up and say, "Hey, I've got a problem, can I talk to you for a minute?" Person in charge can excuse themselves and say, "Hey, cashier, hey, sandwich maker, I'm stepping offline. You guys know what to do." And then they take more responsibility and do part of the expediter job. And that's what this shows you. 4 people. Cashier does some expediting. The sandwich maker does some expediting. The grill guy just keeps doing his job. But he'll back up the fry guy if the fry guy's off expediting. And the fry guy does some expediting. The last person to put whatever last product is in the bag or on the tray is the one to make sure that that order goes out to the guest. Whatever system you have to alert the guest, "Hey, your food's up," the last person to put food on that tray is the one that makes sure they get it. So you have to have that awareness. So that makes everybody responsible for something. And if you are scheduled or staffed for only 4 people, the position you want to be on is the least heavy load food-wise. In this setup, it would be the fryer. In other setups, it could be the grill person because you are deep fried seafood or other deep fried products. So that becomes the more labor intensive position. You don't want to be in a labor intensive position. You want to be in a position where if you do have to go offline to talk to a guest or deal with something uh, not service related in that moment, then the rest of the team can pick up the slack from you not being there. So in this diagram, the person in charge should be the fry person. That's when you only have 4 people scheduled. But what happens if you've only got 3? You got a cashier, somebody's got to collect the money, take the orders. Somebody's got to assemble whatever it is that you're cooking, and then somebody's got to cook it. In this case, in a burger restaurant or burger food truck, it would be cashier, sandwich maker, grill person. And as you can see, the cashier's got to take more responsibility towards expediting. The sandwich maker is going to drop fries and do expediting, and the grill guy is going to help drop fries. So you've got all the positions covered. Everybody knows what their secondary position is, and that they need to move into it because they have some gaps now. There's only 3 people working instead of 5, but everybody knows what they need to do, and everybody knows how to do every position. Not necessarily well, but they know how to do it. The cashier knows how to make sandwiches. The cashier knows how to drop fries. The cashier knows how to flip burgers. The same with all the other positions. They can all go ring up orders. They know how to do everything. And yes, you can actually have a grill guy step up and ring an order up. They don't have to transact the cash. If the cashier is off for a second and the grill guy knows somebody at the window and no one's taking care of them, say, hey, I'll be happy to take your order, but I'll have the cashier come collect the money. What would you like today? So that way the order gets started. Everybody can start making it and cooking it. And then when the cashier finishes whatever they were doing, they step back up and collect the money. That way you keep the chain of command on your cash, 1 person, 1 drawer, but you're not slowing down the service because the cashier's emptying out a trash can outside, and then a guest just stepped up real quick before they could, come in, wash their hands, that type of thing. So don't look for excuses on why you're slow. Look for reasons to be faster. Look for ways to teach yourself and your staff how to be faster and maintain a reasonable speed of service within the parameters of the number of people you got. 3 works. Not fun, but it can work because everybody knows what they need to do. And in the same example as the other one before, the last person thanks the guest and makes sure the food goes to the right person. You don't stick a bag on a counter and say, number 38, and then go about your business. Because I can guarantee you someone is going to pick up the wrong food. It happens all the time. What if you only got 2 people? Cashier does all the expediting, the grill guy does all the foods. Pretty simple. And that's the person in charge. Unless you actually have a grill person who's better than you are. Because you need the best, fastest person producing the food, because even a bad cashier can go faster than a great sandwich maker, than a great grill guy. So in this situation, you want the best person producing the food. More than likely it's going to be you, but if it's not you, then put yourself where you're going to be more beneficial to your business, and that would be the cashier. In this particular case, breaking offline to go take care of a complaining customer just is not going to work. Because obviously, if there's a line of people, you can't handle a complainer. So you're going to have to kind of balance, how am I going to handle this complaint and fix it in a manner that makes it want to come back tomorrow without completely crushing all the people that are in line and making them wait longer than they need to. It's not easy, and I'm not going to lie to you and say it can be done. It's going to be a struggle. 2 people is difficult if you're super busy. And that should be your indicator that I need to hire more people if I'm always working with 2. Let's talk about pay. So let's talk about retention. How can you keep people? You pay what your area pays for a line cook in a sit-down restaurant. I read the ads today just to make sure. In my area, it's about $17 an hour. Some restaurants are paying $18, but the majority of them seem to be paying $17. So at least $17 an hour. Why? Because the quality people are going to go where the money is. Now, comparing fast food, or not fast food, but comparing food truck to sit-down restaurant, the workload is going to be lighter in a food truck. So $17 an hour, less work, heck yeah, I'm going to the food truck. But if you're not paying that that pay, then yeah, I got to go with the money, and I'm going to go with the harder job because that's where the money is. And I know that people are going to say, well, I work really hard. Well, yes, you do. But if you've ever worked in a place that sells steaks or that does any kind of other cook to order um, or entree cook to order, they work hard, and they will have multiple things going at a time in different stages of doneness. And you got to be really good because you don't want to destroy or waste a $30 steak because, oh crap, I overcooked it. So yeah, talented people get big money. So you're going to have to step up and match the money. If you're hiring entry level, which means that teenager with no experience, it's okay to pay less. You want to pay more than minimum because minimum implies you're going to get minimum work. You don't want to do that. But you can pay $12 or $13 or $14 an hour. That's not a problem. But you're going to put them on a fast track to get wage increases. After you've shown me some competency in an area, say a cashier, and you can take orders as quickly as I have laid out for you in my training, and for a cashier, it should be one about every 40 seconds. If you achieve that, then I'm going to give you X amount raise. All you got to do is achieve what I've asked you to achieve, and you can make more money. Same with the grill guy, same with the sandwich guy, same with somebody that you've hired that's cooking rice. Whatever their job is, give them goals so that they can make more money. As long as they got something to look forward to, they have a reason to continue to work with you. You can give them perks, free meals, off-duty discounts, free uniforms, tip sharing, all that kind of stuff. One thing about tips is me as the owner, me as the manager, me as anybody in charge, I do not partake in tips. And I can tell you right now that probably 90% of the time, I'm the hardest worker in whatever environment I'm in. But I don't partake in the tips because I make plenty of money and I know how to raise my own prices to make more profit if I need to. So I can give myself a raise without having to share in the tips. The only penalty that I will do on tips is if the cash drawer is short, the tips are going to make me whole as a business. So that way they're less likely to make mistakes because, they're actually hurting their own selves. And then if the waste exceeds a certain amount, then they're going to have to pay for the food that they wasted above whatever budget I've set. Once you put those two little parameters in place, your waste comes way down, and the tips don't get used for cash shortages because all of a sudden everybody knows how to count now. So think about those kind of things. And you can add on other perks that you can do that don't cost you money, but make it worthwhile to work with you. You can trade your free meals for tickets to movie theaters whenever they get reopened. You can trade a discount card, not a discount card, but a gift certificate to another business in exchange for one of their gift certificates. Those kind of things. You can do a lot of trading and things that don't cost you a lot of money, but make it worthwhile for your people to hang around. You can consider a bonus system based on key metrics for your business. You can talk about speed of service if you have a way to measure that. If you do any kind of kitchen display system, a KDS, you can monitor your speed of service coming out of the kitchen. You can give them bonuses on that. You can give them bonus on cash over and short. You can give them bonus on a waste goal, food costs, whatever you want to measure, you can give them a bonus on. And the more that you measure that has a monetary bonus related to it, the better your business becomes because they all want to make the bonus. And whatever I did when I had bonuses was I taught the folks how to make the bonus. I didn't just dangle the carrot and say, well, if you get your sales up 5%, you're going to get this amount of money, because that does my management no good. It does your employees no good if you dangle the carrot and they don't know how to achieve the carrot. Teach them how to achieve it. I made more money in bonuses by teaching all of my subordinate managers and restaurant managers how to achieve the bonus. Because when they got bonus, guess what? I made more money. That is a win-win for everybody. So yeah, I paid out bonuses, big deal, but I made way more in sales and way more in profit than I paid out in bonuses. So it's a little bit of math and you can figure it out. All right, going over everything because I'm getting real close to an hour. Job description. Write down the job description, how it interacts with the team to produce the quality, service, cleanliness, and community standards that you expect in your business. Write your policies. All the R's predetermined outcomes. If you do not call within 3 hours, you're going to have this consequence. If you're going to miss work, if you're a no call, no show, you will have this consequence. And then when they show back up and say, well, how come I'm in trouble? You say, well, remember this little piece of paper I had you sign with all the policies on it? You knew what was going to happen. I'm not a liar. If I don't administer my policy and the consequence attached to my policy, that makes me a liar. Do you really want me to be a liar? Recruiting. I've explained to you guys where to look for staff. You are always looking for staff. If you have 5 people today, your goal next week should be to find a 6th one. And that 6th one needs to be better than the other 5. You may not find them, but that needs to be your goal. Can I find another person that's going to be better than what I've got? You always want to, it's called weed and feed. We weed out the weaker employees so that we can feed the stronger, the better employees. And once your staff realizes that, hey, he's always looking for people to work, they get better because they want to keep their job. People don't quit jobs over money. People quit jobs over bosses. So you want to be the best possible boss you can be. But always let them know that I'm looking for good people all the time. You want to interview with STAR, which was Situation, Task, Action, Results. You want to train using START, which is show, tell, allow, to try, respond, redirect, and thank. You got to become the coach and lead your team. You got to have the right people in the right place at the right time. I'll tell you a little story about a person. I took over a restaurant many years ago, and they had a guy that they told me he's going to be your problem employee. He can't learn anything. He's not fast on, is it Burger King? He wasn't fast on the line making sandwiches. He wasn't fast on specialty, which is where they make all the chicken, fish, and drop fries. And they said he could barely do the broiler. And the broiler is where you just ran the meat. Toast the buns, run the meat. Toast the buns, run the meat. Simple job. They said he can handle that, but he can't do anything else. The first week that I worked with the guy, they were right. He couldn't do anything. I could not train him to get any faster than he was. But what I did notice about him was he had a sincere, likable personality. He was quite friendly. Actually, extremely friendly. He was friendlier than some of the people that they had on the registers up front. So I took him up front and taught him how to run the register. And the guy ended up being one of the better cashiers that store had ever had to that point. But they had a great person, but in the wrong place. So you got to get that out of them. It's your job when you hire them to teach them to be the best they can be and analyze their performance and see if, oh crap, I hired him to be a grill person, but he's not. He's a cashier. And you put them in the right position. And then they flourish and they become great. The guy ended up being a head cashier for me for a couple of years. It just depends on how they're treated and brought through the training system. Clearly, mechanical things, movement with his hands was not what he could do. But talking to people and getting them to buy food, he could do that like a whirlwind. Pay what they are worth to your business. And that pay should be comparable to whatever the pay is in your town for a cook at a sit-down restaurant, because the skills are very similar. Do not, and I should have put this in here, do not hire a cashier and pay them $10 and hire a grill person and pay them $15 just because one's a cashier and one's a grill person. The second that you start a pay differential, you invite someone to tell you, that's not my job, especially the cashier. When you say, hey, can you go over and make a few sandwiches? Not my job. You don't pay me to do that. And they are right. You're not paying him to do that because you said this cashier position is only worth $10 to me. So why would you want them to go and do something that you're paying someone else to do that job for free? Because that's what you're asking them to do. Pay everybody the same. unless they are entry level. And then you want to work them up to where they're making the same as everybody else rapidly. They've always got to have that goal. So don't think that, you work super hard and I'm going to hire somebody to be a cashier because I'm the boss and they only need to make $8 an hour, but I'm going to pay this other guy $15. That does not work. If you don't think that the cashier is the most important position in your business, you are in the wrong business. They're the ones that drive your sales up. They're the ones that can suggest a sale. They are the face of your business. They're the first person that is greeted by a guest, and they're the ones that have that first impression. Why in the world would you not pay them as much as you pay someone else who may do a little bit more of a dirty job or a little bit more of a greasy job? And it's the same with the grill guy. If you think, oh, well, we got to pay the cashier $15 an hour because Bill said they're the face of our business. That's true. But you're going to pay that grill guy the same amount. But if you decide, well, we're only going to pay him $8 because he's not as important, you're wrong. He is more important because he's the engine. He's the one that's producing the food. He's the one that's getting it out to where it needs to be. So all positions are worth the same. They have to be. That's the only way you can have a team. And then you reward people that work better, work faster, work smarter with a little bit of a bump and a raise. So if that grill guy suddenly becomes faster than you, heck yeah, you deserve a raise. Here you go. Here's another 50 cents an hour. Here's $1 an hour. That cashier is suddenly more friendly than you've ever been. They deserve a raise. And if they're not working towards their next pay raise or their next bonus, they don't have a goal. And they're not going to put out as much effort. It's all on you as a coach.